Atrocities of the Nanjing Massacre and World War II has been a key point of contention in China-Japan ties. And while Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and members of his government have tried to minimize the country's history of aggression, many citizens are choosing to find the truth on their own. Ai Yiying, a Chinese survivor of the 1937 massacre, recently visited Nagoya, Osaka, and Tokyo to share her memories. CCTV's correspondent Terence Terashima sat in and sent this report.
In 1937, the Japanese Imperial Army stormed the city of Nanjing, killing tens or maybe hundreds of thousands of residents without reason. One of the bloodiest atrocities committed by the Japanese Imperial Army during the World War II. 77 years since, the Sino-Japanese relations are still under tension by the difference in historical views by the Japanese government. So how does the Japanese public view this historical issue? Here in central Tokyo, a number of concerned Japanese have gathered to listen to a testimony by a survivor from Nanjing. The room was packed with people who wanted to listen to the testimony by Ai Yiying, a living survivor from Nanjing.
I think many young people are not aware of historical issues. I want them to remember what really happened.
Nobu Kono, a former history teacher, says these kind of testimonies are important, as many Japanese have misunderstanding of the historical truth or forgetting the history of aggression.
Japan sent its army abroad to countries like China, the Philippines, and Singapore during World War II. Were we invited in by these countries? No, we were not. The Japanese are forgetting that it was an act of aggression.
Some of the audience said they were concerned that Japan may head towards the wrong direction, beefing up national defense, and some politicians eyeing to revise some of the past prime minister's statements admitting Japan's aggression.
This is something that all Japanese should think about seriously.
2015 marks the 70th anniversary of the end of the World War II. Some experts say Japan's credibility lies on how it faces the historical issues and whether it can remain as a pacifist nation. Terence Terashima, CCTV, Tokyo.
While a set of textbooks detailing the Nanjing Massacre have been adopted as required texts by primary and middle schools in Nanjing, students in the city have been required to study the books from December 1st leading up to December 13th. Wu Guoxiu has this report from Nanjing.
Learning the darkest part of history from their own town. Second-year students in the high school affiliated to Nanjing Normal University are learning how to think deeper about the massacre that killed 300,000 people in the city in 1937.
Now we need to pursue peace and point out the incorrect words and actions of the right-wingers in the Japanese government. We want to play an active and peaceful role in society. This textbook is helping us to think more about the tragic event and its huge impact on our country.
Their new textbook is titled Warning and Thinking. There is also a primary school edition and is called Memory of Blood and Fire, which tells stories from the massacre to 5th graders. The junior middle school edition is called Historical Truth and is intended for 8th graders. The local education bureau official says editors thought long and hard about how to tell this cruel history to children.
我们的教材出来以后，专门约请了儿童教育专家和心理专家。
After editing the textbooks, we invited children's education and physiological experts to review them. While we had to reflect on the 6 months inhumane massacre, we used rational and historical evidence and distant photographs instead of close-ups.
History teacher Tao Jinping, who also participated in the editing work, says the lessons aim to help sow the seeds of peace and reconciliation.
By giving such lessons, we're not implanting hatred. We hope students can take history as a mirror for the future. We hope they can help seek peace in East Asia and the rest of the world.
This is the first time in China that text textbooks on the Nanjing Massacre have been adopted in primary and middle schools. Before this, mention of the tragic event only took a small section in their history textbooks. With December 13th designated a National Memorial Day for the massacre victims, 120,000 teenage students here in Nanjing are taking lessons from the textbooks to better understand the massacre.